Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to give you this update, although the story it stems from is a sombering one. You might remember in August 2021, at a peaceful protest, a man named Matthew Lawson, a very peaceful man, a known peaceful man, was shot 6 times with rubber bullets.
I just heard someone from the back of, from behind me saying, they've got a gun. They're
shooting rubber bullets. They're shooting. What is that? Fucking
I was in an absolute state of shock. A police force that I trusted to protect me had shot me repeatedly at point-blank range. I was broken. The internal bruising was agony. It would be months before I could lift my arms above my shoulders. Rubber bullets, or so-called less lethal weapons, have killed people before, and at that range they could very well have killed me on that day. My government was willing to risk an act of murder for the sake of ensuring obedience. I was truly broken. It was months before I left my house again, but for all the physical damage, it was the mental damage that really took its toll.
It is time for them to be made accountable, and that is what we are doing with Matthew Lawson's case. You might remember straight after that incident, we did a fundraiser to help Matthew Lawson to actually take civil proceedings against the police. We are now 12 months away from that, and I can confirm with you all that the case has been filed. So I'm going to show you an interview now with his lawyer, and just keep in mind that we've been working on this the whole 12 months and we're not giving up. We're not going to give up. Even if we run out of money, we're going to find a way to find more money, because this case is so important. No one should ever go through what Matthew went through. I was there, I saw it with my own eyes, and I'll never be the same after seeing that. After seeing a Victorian shoot another Victorian, we need to get to the bottom of this. There needs to be accountability. And without the fundraiser, without you guys, there would be no chance of any of this. So thank you so much for your support. So I'm really excited to talk to Matthew's lawyer, Manny. I'm going to get straight into it. Firstly, where are you at with the legal case? And then I'm going to ask you about the merits and the winnability of the case. So where are we at right now?
Okay. By way of background, we've spent the last 12 months developing the case. By developing the case, I mean building the necessary evidence to bring this case to the courts. And that evidence now includes medical evidence and psychological evidence for Matthew, as well as evidence of loss of income and loss of earning as a result of the injuries that he sustained during these assaults that occurred. In terms of the merits of the case, we are of the opinion that the case has very strong prospects of succeeding and presents a very strong example of police tort against unarmed civilians. We believe that the case has and should be ventilated in the court, and that's why we've asked the court for this matter to go into a jury trial, because we believe this is the type of case that has a strong public interest, and we believe that a jury of Matthew's peers will certainly reach the kind of conclusion and justice that we seek for Matthew.
Absolutely. And so has it been filed, and what is next?
Yes, so we filed the statement of claim and the writ in the case. We've served the copy on the Victorian government and the Commissioner of Police in Victoria. However, since filing, we've had to amend the statement of claim. Effectively, in Victoria, there's a piece of legislation called the Victoria Police Act that prevents us from bringing tort claims against the police directly. What happens in Victoria is you sue the state for various torts like assault and battery conducted by police, and then the state raises the defense of police misconduct. Okay, and when that occurs, the police are then joined to the proceedings. Okay, and when I say police, I mean the individual officers that were responsible for ordering and firing the rubber bullets at Matthew. The VKS pepper ball weapon that was used to fire at Matthew is a weapon generally used to identify people in a crowd during a riot. So you're meant to fire the bullet once, it leaves a mark on the person's shirt or clothing, and the rest of the officers can identify that person for the purpose of arresting them. You don't use that weapon as a defensive tool to subdue somebody. So we need to find out what the procedures were when this riot squad left their barracks. Okay, what were they told?
Yeah.
How were they trained? What was the procedure for using the VKS pepper ball? Because I think it's actually a relatively new weapon. I think it was purchased from Switzerland only a couple of years ago. So it's actually a relatively new weapon. So these things, that's just one example of the type of investigation we as defense lawyers have to take to prepare for this trial.
Are we going to be able to find out, if it goes to trial, will we find out who gave the order?
Most certainly.
Wow. That's, we really want to know that.
Yes.
Look, that week or two, there was a really a 3 or 4 week time in Melbourne from mid-August to sort of mid-September where things went absolutely mental. And I know that's not a professional word to use, but it did. There was rubber bullets. There was the CMFEU situation. There was the Bearcats. I went to prison. Matthew Lawson got shot 3 times. It was just insane. And was it 3 times?
6 times.
He got shot 6 times?
Yes.
Well, that's news to me. I was there on that day. But anyway, so look, not everyone has the ability to take their case all the way to court. Unfortunately, that's the problem. Not everyone has the money and the ability to do so. But Reignite Democracy have supported Matthew Lawson. And so it's really important that we get some sort of result, because it's not about Matthew and it's not about RDA. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about creating a situation where the police are accountable, so that if things happen again to this extent, and I hope they never do, they hopefully will remember that, hey, there are a few people who are going to take us all the way to town, and we can't afford to do that every time. So what is the desired outcome in this case, according to your client, or what you think is best for the Victorian people?
Well, firstly, can I just say that we are eternally grateful to all the individuals across Australia who donated for the legal action for Matthew Lawson. These people are not only generous, but I'm sure they all want justice, not just for Matthew, but in general for all of us who were subjected to these policies over the last 2.5 years, especially the atrocious scenes of police shooting within 3 or 4 meters at unarmed civilians, mothers, children, elderly grandmothers, and Matthew. We never want that to ever happen again. So we are very grateful for the generosity of the people who helped. Through that generosity, we've been able to retain the services and advice of Mr. Megami from Sydney and Mr. Julian Burnside QC in Victoria, who is an eminent QC and who believes very strongly that Matthew presents a very strong case of police tort against civilians. And so we're very grateful. That's the first thing I wanted to say. Very grateful. Secondly, what I want to say is that ultimately, Matthew has conveyed this to me on a number of occasions. He wants what happened to him to never, ever happen again. And secondly, he wants recognition and an apology from Victoria Police and or the Victorian government for allowing this atrocity to happen on our doorsteps. I mean, if we were to see scenes like that in China, Brazil, even Germany, we would think, wow, you know, the society has collapsed into chaos and into savagery. But the reality is, we've seen it in what was once the most civilized city in this country, anyway, in my opinion, the most livable city, as it was called, and it brings us great sadness. It breaks our heart, and we want to make sure that we take a stand and we bring this to court, and that the matter is heard by a judge and jury, and it goes to a trial, and the evidence is ventilated in open court for all to see. Because ultimately, there was no reason for firing at Matthew. There was absolutely no reasonable basis to do what the police did.
And even the police who actually shot the rubber bullets themselves, they were given orders, and they probably didn't like it either. And I'm being more gracious than I need to be, but I'm sure that there's some mental trauma for them as well. And we don't want fellow Australians, Victorians, to be ordered to shoot each other with these things. And so it's not just about our justice; it's also about Victoria Police getting bad orders. And that's why, if we can air this trial, it'd just be incredible to find out the truth of that. And but lately, they've been stopping everything before it goes to trial. But I actually would like to see something go all the way to trial. If you win, though, you get, I guess you would be seeking for costs, correct?
Absolutely. We'd be seeking for costs. We're seeking not only standard damages in the case for Matthew, but we're actually seeking also what's called exemplary damages. Exemplary damages are damages that are awarded by the court to make an example as a means of general deterrence, so that this does not happen again. So we're not just seeking simple damages for Matthew to ensure that he can survive for the next few years, because he's, in some ways, he's not the same man he was before this incident. Okay, his earning capacity, his ability to obtain employment, his ability to maintain relationships changed. It's altered. So we've got to put Matthew back to where he was. That's the kind of damages that we want. Put Matthew back to where he was before it occurred. But we're also seeking exemplary damages to make an example of that officer or those officers, so that other officers who find themselves in similar situations may think twice about excessive use of force, disproportionate use of force.
Yep. And taking bad orders. That's, to me, that's one of the most, besides getting damages for Matthew and getting justice, obviously, I would really love to know who gave that order. But look, just to the viewers out there, just so that if we get all of our legal costs back, the program that we have used to fundraise for Matthew, we've got everyone's emails, we've got everyone's details, so we can actually refund every single cent to you. If we get our costs back, we'll give you our costs back, because the money that you have donated is all about getting us to trial. Without that, we can't go to trial, we can't get justice for Matthew, and we can't get justice for the rest of us, and we can't find out what actually happened and stop this. So it really isn't, it's just about getting to trial, and then we can give all your money back. That's the idea. And we're going to keep going until we win, because to me, well, I'm not a lawyer, but to me, it just seems black and white that someone needs to be accountable for this case. And this is just one of, there are just thousands of people who have been unjustly treated during this time. So I think a win for Matt would be a win for all of us.
In reality, unfortunately, these things do take a long time. People may lose interest, or we may move on. However, we on the defense side will continue plowing forward. And I expect, if the matter does not settle beforehand, I expect a trial within 12 months.
Okay, well, thank you so much for the update. Is there anything else you want to say before I let you go?
No, I just want to say thank you very much for everything you do, Monica, and Reunite Democracy, and of course, the generosity of your viewers. It would not have been possible without them. So I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.
And you too. Thanks, Manny.